If only you guys could live inside my brain. All of the time, I'm constantly thinking of how to improve my life, how I could improve others' lives. And so throughout the course of the month, I will come up with ideas and things. And I think to myself, that would make an amazing podcast episode. But in and of itself, each little thing wouldn't make a whole episode. So I thought I would just start combining all of these tips, tricks, ideas into one episode every single month. And so today I'm going to be sharing everything I've learned and loved in February. Glue. It's messy, it's sticky, it gets everywhere, but it's also really useful. Just like the glue that we need to put together the pieces of our life as busy working moms. We have after-school activities, we have homework, we have cleaning, we have laundry, and, we want to spend time with our kids as well in the process and maybe even have some time for ourselves. This podcast is for the busy moms out there who are balancing work, life, and everything in between, and we all know that in between encompasses a lot of things. If you're a mom who wants to do the best in all areas of life but still have time for yourself, this podcast is for you. I love to interview other moms and find out what works for them, get ideas from them, get inspired by them, and learn, we're all in this together. But I also like to share my own tips, tricks, struggles, triumphs, and share it all with you. So grab a load of laundry, lock yourself in the bathroom, go for a walk, do whatever you got to do, but I am just so glad you're here. Happy March, glue sticks. I have to say I am so glad we are getting closer and closer to spring and further from winter. In Minnesota here, it's going to be winter for a bit longer, but there is some end in sight, and I'm so excited for it. I just cannot wait for nicer weather and being outside, because at least if the world is a crazy place, at least we can be outside enjoying the few things that the world does have to offer, like beautiful sunshine and grass and flowers and just all the fun that comes with great weather outside. So I'm going to be sharing some things in different categories that I have learned, loved, and different tips, tricks, and things that I have come up with over the past 2 months, I will say, since I am starting this for the first time in the end of February, early March. I wanted to share everything I've kind of learned so far. And I just thought this would be a fun episode just to kind of sit down and talk with you guys and share some things that have really worked for me. And hopefully this can give you some ideas. Maybe it's just fun to listen to. And hopefully you can just get a little bit of inspiration or different ideas from these episodes. If you have an idea of what to call these, I haven't come up with a name at the time of recording this, and I don't know if I will by the time it's published, but let me know. Something maybe with Sarah in it or work-life glue, something. But I want to do these every month where I just share different things that are working for me, little stories and things like that. I just think it would be really fun. Since none of these things in and of itself, I think would make a whole episode, but together, I think this is going to have a lot of information for you guys. So let's start with parenting. If you're new to my whole Work-Life Glue brand, I have a podcast and a YouTube channel and Instagram and a Facebook group. I am the mom to 3 little girls, ages newly turned 6, 3.5, and now just turned 6 months old. So they're all girls. And one theme that's been a common theme in our house is that everybody loves to wake up early. I like to wake up at 4 a.m. because I wanted to get up before my kids so I could work and have some time to myself. But now they like to do the same. And it's been, a journey the last few years once our oldest daughter started doing this, and now our middle daughter does this, and now our baby's starting to get up earlier too. So it's been a little frustrating when I'm trying to have my me time and they get up. So we do use the OK to Wake clock, which I love. If you're not familiar, it's a clock that you can program to turn green at a certain time every morning. And for us, the way we use it is they can come out of their room at that time. Of course, they can go to the bathroom and things like that, but they're not allowed to come out and start the day until their clock turns green. And that had been at 6 o'clock. And I go upstairs to get ready right next to their rooms at 5:40 a.m. so I can have 20 minutes or so to get ready for the day before they come out. Now, they don't always follow the rule of the OK to Wake clock because they're usually up before 5:40, unfortunately. And so especially our 3-year-old will come out and start talking to me, and I have to keep redirecting her back to her room. And so I end up not being able to finish getting ready in those 20 minutes now. And so I decided, why not just move their clock back an extra 10 minutes? So now, instead of turning green at 6 o'clock, it turns green at 6:10. And so this gives me 10 extra minutes. Granted, I am still getting interrupted a lot of the time, but at least I can be like, nope, your clock's not green, because often when it turns green, then they both are like, okay, I'm ready for the day. Let's brush our teeth. Let's do this. Let's do this. And it's like they start talking to me, and I just don't want to start the day frustrated at them because I'm not done getting ready. And then they want to go downstairs and start breakfast and all that, but I'm not ready to do that. So I thought, why not just set their clock back to 6:10? So they still have to play in the room for an extra 10 minutes. And then I can for sure finish getting ready in that time. And then I'm fully ready to be present with them, to help them get ready if they need help, and we can all go downstairs together. That's just one little thing that really worked for me. So if your kids are, coming out of their room too early in the morning, for sure get an okay to wait clock. But if it's just still like too early, feel free to set it back. Use it as a tool. If it's not working for you at the time you've set it for another time. It's okay to adjust what you do. Another thing that's really helped me, I have been sharing a lot about my breastfeeding and napping struggles with my baby. I breastfed my first baby for 2 years, and I breastfed my second baby for 18 months. And basically every baby I've had, each one cares about nursing less and less. So my first baby would nurse anytime, had to fall asleep while nursing, which I would not recommend, but first time mom, I was doing whatever I had to do to get her to sleep. Second time mom, I was a lot more kind of strict about nursing. I didn't want her to fall asleep at the breast all the time. So she never really loved nursing. She would still nurse whenever offered, but it wasn't like this huge thing that took a really big process to wean off of like it did with my first daughter. And now my third daughter is nursing, who cares? I don't care how I get the milk. Just give it to me when I'm hungry. But don't try to give it to me too early, and don't try to give it to me when it's light out, and don't try to give it to me when there's anybody around, because I'll just scream, or I will babble, or I will just cry, and I don't want it in those situations. So trying to figure out all of those things that she didn't like has been quite a process, and not going to lie, it's been very frustrating. There's been a lot of tears on my end and her end trying to figure out how to feed her. But something that's really helped me that a lot of people recommended, but I was kind of apprehensive about starting it. I've used apps in the past. I really love the app Baby Nursing. It's something I've used for all of my babies, but I decided to try the app Huckleberry. And what makes this app different, and this isn't sponsored at all, but the app Huckleberry is different because you can actually first of all, it will tell you'll log all the feeding sessions, all the naps, and it's really designed to help you figure out the perfect time and the perfect windows for your baby's sleep to help them get on a really good sleep routine. And so after, I think it's 3 days of you tracking everything, it will start telling you what your sweet spot is for naps. So let's say you lay your baby down and then they get up, it will tell you when to lay them down again and when the next nap will likely be, whether you're going to do a 2 nap a day or 3 nap a day. We're still on a 3 nap a day. And so that's really helped me to really learn the best times to lay her down. And I realized I was pretty much doing that, but it helped me to be more consistent about it. And then it also just helped me figure out her feedings, because I was adding all her feedings to that and writing down when she fed or when she rejected feeding, and it just having it down in an app and seeing it laid out, because they have it kind of color coded and you can see the whole week at a glance of when the baby ate, when the baby nursed, and when the baby slept. And so seeing it that way just really helped me see when, she actually was eating. And because I'm not getting a lot of sleep and I was really stressed out about it, and I was doing distance learning at the time and just a lot on my plate, just seeing it that way really helped me see that she only really nurses before a nap. And so I stopped trying to feed her any other time. And that works out well because I just go and feed her in her room, in the nursery, or in our room if it's bedtime, because she still sleeps with us at night, but she naps in her nursery. And so I'll just feed her in the dark, away from everybody. I'll give our 3-year-old her Kindle, or 5 or 6-year-old if she's around, or the little boy I watch, they'll just watch the Kindle right outside the door so that I can still hear and see them. but I will keep the door mostly shut and it's quiet. And so she will nurse in the dark and then I will lay her down. And she has not fought me at all as long as we wait about 4 hours in between, which works out really well with her nap schedule. And so I just really recommend that app because it just really helped me track everything. Plus, you can also pay for their like membership fee, or I don't know exactly what they call it, but you can pay to have sleep analysts actually look at the data that you provide and help you come up with a plan for your baby. So if you're really struggling with sleep, or I'm sure toddlers, I don't think it has to just be a baby, but if you're really struggling with sleep and napping and trying to get them to sleep through the night and just different sleep issues that we all go through as parents, you can definitely check that out and they will help you with that, which I think is really cool. So it's an app that's free to use, but you can also pay to have extra customized help, which I think is genius. Okay, moving on from sleep and into something more fun. We're going to talk about balloons. Balloons have been a big part of our year so far. First of all, I bought a pack of balloons just to play with. I don't even know what started this, but our girls just really wanted some balloons to play with. So I bought a giant pack of balloons from Target for a few dollars. And now we always have some balloons blown up in a little bin in our playroom, which we use a lot for large motor play. We have mats in there and bean bags and things like that so they can, and a slide and a trampoline so they can, get their wiggles out, which is crucial because the past 2 weeks it's been so cold and we haven't been able to go outside because of the wind chill. So we have balloons there for them to just hit and play with. So they're just blown up with regular air, not helium, so that they'll float back down. And this seriously is such a fun thing to play with. I remember loving playing with balloons as a kid, and it's super cheap. Obviously, if they're 3 and under, it's a choking hazard if they pop. So just be careful of that, obviously. But kids love balloons. It's a great way to have more large motor play. It's great for hand-eye coordination. You can do different things with colors and things like that. They can kind of learn how to catch, and it's a little slower than a ball would be. It's a great thing for siblings because who doesn't love balloons? So I would highly recommend just having a whole pack of balloons. And if your kids are kind of driving you crazy, blow up a few balloons and have a balloon party. Even better if you buy a little disco ball. I will link to one that I got on Amazon for, I think, under $10. And I will link that in the show notes. And you can have a disco balloon dance party. What's better than that? Nothing. That is a key to getting through our winters from now on. Also, balloons, there has been a helium shortage for a while. And so our local party city actually closed, probably due to the pandemic, unfortunately. But we decided instead of buying balloons somewhere for birthday parties, we would just buy a helium tank. And I found the best prices at Hobby Lobby. They were $40 or $39.99. But you can obviously, look around on Amazon or different places. But they can fill up. A helium tank can fill up I don't remember exactly, but dozens of balloons just at the regular 9-inch size. And so I plan to buy one a year, and hopefully that will last for most of the balloons we need for birthday parties. And that's probably cheaper or about the same price as going to get balloons, but it's nice because I can just blow them up at home. I bought a bunch of weights that we'll just reuse over and over. I just got the silver ones from Hobby Lobby and some balloon string, and there you go. And it's just a really easy and affordable way to have balloons for birthdays. And then I just got, because our girls love pink, I just got a pack of pink and white and then clear with confetti in it balloons. So if you just went with some neutral colors, you could always add in a pack of themed balloons or something like that if you have a specific theme for the birthday party. But if you just kind of go with neutral colors that work for all your kids, silver, gold, white, gray, those kinds of things, then you can always mix in different ones as well. So balloons have really been amazing around our house. Another thing I did this month that was scary to me, I don't know why, and maybe some of you guys listening are laughing at me and maybe some of you understand, but I don't know why, but I was really intimidated by the thought of making my own baby food. Now, with our first 2 daughters, neither of them liked us feeding them. They were very strong-willed and wanted to feed themselves. So we just did baby-led weaning, and we plan to do that with our third daughter, but she started showing interest in food a lot younger than the other two. They didn't start till 6 months. She started showing interest at 4.5 months, and we started giving her solids just before 5 months. So I wasn't quite ready to do baby-led weaning. I wanted to really start off with purees. And so then an article that's been making its way around the interwebs shows that pretty much, I don't know, I don't want to say all, but many different brands of baby food, organic or not, have shown to have high levels of toxic metals. And so I no longer, after reading that, wanted to give my baby that. I'm just the kind of person, once you read something like that, I just can't get it out of my head. But obviously, if you can't afford it, or if you have fed your baby those baby foods in the past, like, give yourself grace. It's okay. You got to do what you got to do, and a lot of prayer and stuff. And hopefully now that the article came out, there will be more regulations to make it safer for our babies. But I decided to make my own baby food, and I don't know why I thought it was so intimidating. In 45 minutes, I made like 40 different little containers of baby food, and I made 4 different foods. I did carrots, I did sweet potatoes, butternut squash, and broccoli. And it was so easy. And I felt so amazing afterward. Like I had just done this amazing thing that nobody had ever done, even though I knew plenty of people have made their own baby food. And there were times, many, many decades and centuries of people making baby food before it was ever sold in stores. But the things I used, and I have a whole Instagram post on this, I will link in the show notes just to give you guys more information. But I used an immersion blender, worked really, really well. But if you have just a regular blender or a food processor, that would work too. And to make it even easier on myself, Aldi sells organic, already chopped, steamable butternut squash in bags and sweet potatoes as well. So I just microwave those to cook them and get them ready for pureeing. Carrots, I just peeled, cut up, and boiled until they were ready. And then I used some of the water from boiling them, because it still has some of the nutrients in it, to thin it out to the right consistency for her. And then for broccoli, I just used frozen broccoli. I just steamed it in the bag like I would to serve to my family. And then I did the same thing. I just used water to thin it out and puree it. And then I will link to the little cups I used. I love them. They're BPA free. They have an attached lid and they stack really nice. And I liked using those because I don't know. I just like them having them pre-portioned, and I'm not a huge fan of the ice cube tray. I just like to have a little cup to use, but they're also dishwasher safe. So even though they're labeled disposable cups, you can reuse them, which I really, really like. More sustainable, and you're not getting rid of them all the time and having to buy new. So I really, really like those, and our baby has loved trying new foods, and I'm excited to try even more baby food. So try it if you haven't already. Also, I just wanted to share that I, now 6 years into parenting, I am finally just coming to the realization that some seasons of parenting are just hard. I am a type 1 Enneagram, and if you are not familiar with what that actually means, I am the perfectionist personality type when it comes to the Enneagram. And I want to do everything right, and I want to do everything the best I can, and I want to find solutions and know the perfect way to do everything. And now as a mom, that's really hard because often there is not a perfect solution, and nobody just knows it off the top of their head. You have to try different things. You have to really get to know your kids and figure out what works. And just by the time you figure one thing out, they're doing something new and you're figuring that out. And just the past few months, I'm not going to lie, have been really, really hard. I've tried to be as authentic about that as I can on social media and YouTube and on here as well. But I just wanted to share that some seasons are just hard. And I want to say that's okay. I mean, it's not okay. It doesn't feel good, obviously, but I'm coming to terms with that, and that I'm not a failure just because it's hard. My kids aren't failures. My kids aren't bad kids if it's a hard season. And I'm not a bad mom if it's a hard season. And there may not be an answer. The answer may just be it's hard and you have to ride it out. Love them. Be with them. Give yourself grace. Take some stuff off your to-do list if you can. and just embrace the difficulty. Not every season has to be hard, but I know for me, like the pandemic, that makes life harder. Doing distance learning made life a lot harder and more complicated. Having a baby who won't nurse and nap the way I would prefer her to makes life harder. And all together, these things are kind of like a really bad cocktail of things to overwhelm a parent. And so I just kind of had to come to terms with the fact that some seasons are just hard and there may not be a perfect solution. And that's okay. It doesn't mean anybody's failing. So if you're struggling right now, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom. It doesn't mean your kids are bad kids. It just means that this is one of life's many waves that come and go. Emphasis on the go. It won't always be this hard. There will be parts of your life that will change, that will get better. You will figure things out. You will meet the person who will teach you that thing that helps you in some way. But for now, if you're a Christian, rely on God and pray and be in the Word and try to just remember that this is a season. It's not forever. It may feel that way sometimes, but you will get through this. And sometimes it just is hard, and that's okay. Okay, so those are all my things related to parenting. Let's talk self-care and just tips for moms. I'm sure a lot of you guys do this, but I finally, after having this on my want-to-do list for so long, I've started a Sunday night self-care Pamper session, I will call it. It's not very long, it's not very detailed, but it's just a time for me to focus on me. And so I've started doing my nails at this time. I've started doing face masks at this time, watching whatever I want to watch, and just pampering myself in whatever way feels great to me. I would love to take baths, but we have an old 70s bathroom. And when I take a bath in that bathtub, all I think about is how much I want to renovate the bathtub. So that's not relaxing for me, but one day I will have an amazing bathtub to bathe in and pamper myself in that way. But I've recently started using gel nail polish. I've been trying it out. I'm on week 3, and I found if I keep my nails pretty short, they last for a week because I'm really hard on my hands, but they haven't chipped much at all when I keep my nails shorter. So that's been really nice. So I just feel more put together. And it's just a time on Sundays when I'm going through the day, I remember, oh yeah, it's my date with myself tonight and I can do whatever I want. My husband will kind of help with the baby if she gets fussy. And so I can just really focus on me that one night of the week. So I would highly recommend scheduling in one night a week to just focus on you after your kids are down. Or maybe they're gone or, what have you, just having some time to really focus on you and having it scheduled because it's so easy to let that just slip on by. I know it's been that way for me for a very long time, but scheduling it in every Sunday and not letting myself waver from that within reason has really, really put a great start to my week and just made me feel a lot better about myself. And then something else I've really come to learn about myself through, I don't know, I've just been really reflecting on this the past month or two. I hadn't seen any friends really for months, and I was really missing them, at least not consistently seeing anyone. And, I had my baby and barely anybody came to see her because of the pandemic, which I understand, but it's just, that's a very sad thing. When you have a baby, normally people come and visit you and they want to meet the baby and they're checking in on you. And it just was not that experience this time around, understandably so, because it's a pandemic. But I hadn't seen my friends for a very long time. And I have 2 amazing friends who live close by that we used to get together a lot. And so we had done a few Zoom calls, but we decided one of them is building a house. And so we decided to socially distance at the house that's being built and do that every other week on Friday nights. And it has been so life-giving. Like I usually cry on my way home afterwards because I'm just so grateful to have amazing friends. And I've realized that even though I'm introverted, it doesn't mean that I don't love people, and people can fill me up and make me feel rejuvenated, especially I think for us introverts. When you are stuck home with little kids who you love and adore, but they talk to you all the time and they need you all of the time. It can be so depleting, and to have no adult interaction really at all is just super draining. And so having two amazing friends who love me through everything, who love me at my worst, love me at my best, and I feel the same way about them, just having 2 hours every other Friday night to just talk and vent and cry and laugh and just talk about nothing, but also talk about everything has been so amazing. So if you are able to socially distance and gather with a couple of friends, seriously, I think mental health is so incredibly important. And I've talked about it on this podcast a lot, especially in my second episode where I talked about my postpartum depression journey. You know, having this third baby during a pandemic, I've been so cognizant of where my mental health state is at. And honestly, it's been a little rocky, you know, of course, like I think everybody's mental health has been rocky the past year, but especially, you know, all the hormones and everything during a pandemic and all the scary parts of that has just been really, really hard. And so having a way to give back to myself in the way of having friend time has been so crucial. And I'm so glad that we're able to do that in a safe way. And I would highly recommend if you're able to do that as well. If you have to do it on Zoom, that's okay too, but just make sure you're still prioritizing those friendships and making time for them because they're so important. And really that's all we have at the end of the day are our relationships. And I think that's something that the pandemic really helped us see. But I just want you to feel okay prioritizing your mental health. Obviously, none of us want to get COVID. We want to stay healthy physically, but our mental health is super important too. And that's honestly the part that just breaks my heart about this whole pandemic is how many people have been suffering mentally. So it's okay to prioritize that as well and do that in the safest way possible. But, you know, the last thing I want is anybody that follows me to hear my message and to be suffering mentally when there are ways to overcome that. So I just recommend having time with friends in person if you can, socially distance, or through Zoom or whichever platform, at least to see each other face to face in that way. So if you guys have been following me on Instagram and YouTube, I have shared a lot about what I've called our room switcheroo, where basically every person in our house has switched what bedroom they sleep in now because I don't know. I was talking with a friend in December and was like, oh, it just would be so nice if our girls could each have their own room. And then I'm like, oh, let's just move our bedroom here. And then I'll move this one here and this one here and this one here. And oh yeah, that would be perfect. Let's do it. And then I went down this long rabbit hole of doing this gigantic project of moving everybody's rooms around. Probably not the best idea to do this during, you know, the Christmas season, during a pandemic when you're distance learning and dealing with a baby with lots of nursing and napping issues, but we made it through on the other side. Lots of tears, like I said, but we made it through. And honestly, I'm so grateful we did it because now, here on out, our girls each have their own room, which is so nice. And now we kind of have our own master suite with my office attached where I am right now recording. And I absolutely love that. We've never had a decorated bedroom in the history of our marriage. So I'm grateful that we're finally doing that almost 10 years into being married. It's about time. And it's just so nice now to have a spot for each girl to kind of go and be alone because our house is a multi-level house, which may sound like there's lots of space, but really it just means that all the spaces are super connected. And so you never really can get away from each other. And that's wonderful, but it also can be really hard having these kids with strong personalities. And sometimes they just want to be away from the noise. They want to be away from each other. And so now they each have a place they can go that's just their own. And I'm all for kids sharing rooms, but for us, this just made the most sense. And I'm really, really grateful that we did it. So I would encourage you, do what you have to do to make your house work for you. I had been hesitant about doing anything like this for a long time. I don't really know why, but now that we have done it, yes, it was a lot of work. But it's just a wonderful way to use our house, and I can see us living here a lot longer now that we did do this change. One thing I will say about this project though that I wanted to share with you guys because it's just something that I was reflecting upon, because I realized the projects themselves to me are not stressful. It's the chaos of the in between. And what I mean by that, if you've ever done any kind of house project, there's always stuff and it's cluttered and you got to find a place to put it. Like if you're redoing a room and you have to take stuff out of the room, it has to go somewhere. And most people don't have just like an extra room sitting around waiting for stuff to fill it when you're doing projects. Most of us use most of our space. And so I found that was really stressful to me, is to have all this stuff that didn't belong in a room that it didn't belong in. And we're just waiting to finish the project to put it back. So I've realized this about myself, that really overwhelms me during the project. And I don't want to be super overwhelmed anytime we do a project. So now when I plan a project, I'm also going to plan where are we going to put everything so that it's not in the middle of the living room, for example, or in the playroom and we can't use it then. Where can we put everything during the interim before the project is completed so that it's not completely causing chaos and overwhelm when we're not actively working on the project, if that makes sense. So for example, if you're redoing your kitchen, where are you going to put all of your kitchen stuff in an organized way? Obviously, it's going to be a little chaotic if you're redoing your kitchen, but how can you set it up and how can you plan that part of it so that, you're not constantly living out of boxes and things like that and stuff everywhere and kids getting into the macaroni because it's in their bedroom or whatever. How can you really structure that part of it so that that's not stressing you out on top of the project? I just don't like having stuff all over the place. So I'm going to be really cognizant of that when I go to do a project next time, of where I'm going to be putting everything and how we're going to kind of manage all of the in-between stuff as we go along throughout the project. And one last thing that I have really worked on the past month and a half has been my planner. I have been a planner lover for many, 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 many years. And I had bought 2 different planners for 2021. I had Emily Lay's Simplified Planner, which I love and highly recommend. And I also had the In the Leafy Treetops Planner, which is a great planner for moms. It has a lot of extra sections for like Christmas planning and New Year planning and Easter and stuff like that, which I also highly recommend. The problem was I was trying to make both of these planners work for me. And I've realized what I need in a planner is not what most people need in a planner. What I need in a planner has to be very customized. And so I had been putting off and just kind of against creating my own planner in the form of printables and printing them out and adding them to my own cover for a while. I used to do that. I had a A5 Aqua Malden Filofax for a few years that I loved before I had kids, and I loved making my own printables and cutting them out and all that, but it was a lot of work. And I didn't want to go through that again now with 3 kids and a business and my husband having a full-time job and a side business. Like I didn't want to add this huge extra thing onto my plate just to plan out my day. That seemed kind of ridiculous. But things have gotten a little more streamlined and easier for us planner lovers. So first of all, I found out that Filofax now makes a duck egg Malden, which basically, if you know the color of my branding for Work Life Glue, is the aqua blue mint green color that I love. It's my absolute favorite color. I've got Post-it notes that color. My pop socket on my phone is that color. It's just like I have scissors next to me right now that are that color. Like it's my favorite color, and that is the exact color of this new Filofax Malden. It's called Duck Egg, and I love it. It's beautiful. So I used some Christmas money to buy that for myself. It's real leather. They're absolutely beautiful. They last a very long time. I'll have a link in the show notes if you are interested. But basically, if you don't know what a Filofax is just a brand of planner binders and covers and accessories and things like that. So this is a 6-ring A5 planner. And so I learned, though, through some searches that on Amazon you can buy pre-cut, pre-punched A5 paper that you can stick in your printer and print out your own inserts. So I used to have to print all of my papers on regular 8.5 by 11 inch paper and then cut it down and punch the holes myself with a hole puncher that I had to order from, I think, Japan. This was quite a few years ago. Now they sell a lot more of this stuff, on Amazon and things like that, so you can get it a lot easier. But back then, it took a lot of time and it was a waste of a lot of paper because A5 is just a little bit bigger than a half sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. So you're wasting basically a half a sheet of paper every time you print, but it prints in the middle and then you have to cut all around and you have to cut the exact right dimensions for it to fit. And it was a lot of work. And so having these papers that are already cut to the right size and they're already punched, I'm not wasting any paper. And when I print, it prints exactly how I want it. I don't have to do any extra work. And then I can just put it in my binder. So I will be doing a whole YouTube video on this you guys can actually see. But what I love about this is that I no longer am going to be spending tons of money on planners that don't really work for me, but trying to get them to work for me and then end up switching planners in a few months. Yes, I wasted money on planners this year, but I love Emily Lay and I love the Leafy Treetops planner. So I look at it as I'm supporting small businesses. So I'm not going to feel bad about it. But from here on out, I'm going to create my own planner. And I love this because I like to plan in a specific way. I like to plan weekly at a glance so that, all in one time when I'm planning, I can kind of see how my whole week will look. But then I like to take that and write out each day on a daily sheet that I can add more to, so that each day I'm only looking at that day, if that makes sense. And like I said, I'll have a whole video on this. And then I like to have a monthly spread. Plus, I wanted to have a place to keep track of the videos and podcast episodes that I want to film and record, and all the social media posts that I want to do, and the books I've read, and my fitness journey, and a bunch of lists. I'm constantly making lists of things I want my husband to do, things I want to buy, things I want to feed my baby, things I want to do for this organizing project. And it just didn't fit well in these pre-made planners. So having my own planner, I can add any kind of insert, and Etsy is amazing for those. They have tons of printables in any kind of size that you want, and you can customize it to really work for you. So that is another takeaway I have for this month, is just having, making things work for you. If it's not working for you, figure out a way to make it work for you. Stop fighting, feeling like you have to put yourself into a box in whatever area it is. For me, for planners, don't feel like I have to put myself in this planner box of I have to buy a planner and it has to work for me. No, I can create my own planner. Yeah, it may be a little bit more work, but it actually works for me. So it's worth the work. I'm not still having papers all over the place with notes because I don't have a place to put them. Now I know exactly where to put them, exactly where to find them. It's much more organized, and I absolutely love using it. So it's win-win-win. And then I also thought it would be fun to share some books that I have recently read. It's definitely something I am working on doing again, is reading a lot. And so I have a tangible book that I read and then an audio book that I read/listened to. So for the tangible book that I read The Family Board Meeting by Jim Shields. I absolutely love this book. I read it in just a few days. It's very easy read, and I think it's only 80 some pages. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's an amazing book all about having a board meeting with your kids. So this doesn't mean sitting down as a whole family and having a meeting. It's basically talking about one-on-one dates with your kids and the importance of this, how long the date should be, what you should do during that time, what you should talk about, and just why it's so important. And I'm not going to get into it here. You guys should go read the book if you're interested. I'll have it in the show notes. But this book really inspired me to schedule one-on-one time with my kids so that they feel valuable, so that our relationship can deepen and grow, and that they feel comfortable coming to me over the years. You can start this at any time, but I just think it's an amazing concept that I think we all know, but so many of us don't actually take the time to plan it. So I now have dates in the planner with my kids. My husband's are in there as well, so he can be dating them too. That sounds weird, but you know what I mean? Going on one-on-one time with each of our children. And I just think this is such a great thing to start now. Even if your kids are older, you can still start it. But for us, I'm just grateful to have found this book when my kids are still really young. And so we can really be investing in our relationships with them from the start for the most part, and just reap the benefits as they get older and we have really close relationships with them. The second book, I listened to the audiobook version. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of this book, if not have even read it, but it's called Siblings Without Rivalry. And this book is so good. So good. I listened to it while I was painting rooms. I listened to it while I'm getting ready. And I love the audio version. I just think it was a great thing to listen to, but you can definitely read the actual copy as well. But basically, this book, I love the format of it because the women who wrote it, Adele Faber and Elaine Maslish, I hope I'm saying those right, one of them, I'm not exactly sure which, or maybe both, had this course, this like parenting class that they taught. And so the whole book is like every chapter is taking you along each week of the class and what the content of the class was, but also the different points that different parents brought up and the experiences they had growing up as siblings and they've had with their own children. And it just really addresses so much more than just somebody talking to you about how to parent. It's bringing up all these different things that a lot of us think about when we read these books. Like, well, what if my child is disabled? Or what if my child, has this issue? Or what if my kids actually violently hurt each other? What do we do? And I just love that it really tackled so many different issues. And I just love the way it was written. It was a lot more interesting the way they wrote it. And I just remember thinking so many times, wow, I never thought of it that way. At one point in the book, they compare having a sibling to having a new spouse in the marriage. So like, for example, what if my husband came home with a new wife and, told me not to fight with her and loved us the same and things like that? How would I feel? And just hearing it that way made me really think of how my kids relate to each other differently and how they feel about one another differently. And having no siblings that I grew up with, my brother and I are 14 years apart. So as long as I can remember, we didn't live together. And so that has really helped me. And my husband doesn't have any siblings at all. And so this book, whether you had siblings or not, I just think it's super helpful to really think about how to parent your kids, how to not put them into roles, how to help them with disagreements and things like that. And I just thought the way they laid it out and explained everything through analogies and through real examples was super helpful. It's a book that I want to reread every year because it was just that amazing. And it just really, I don't know, it just opened my eyes in a lot of ways. And I'm hoping it will help me now as a parent to help my kids navigate their relationships with one another. So I'd highly recommend that book, especially on the audio book. I listened to it on Audible, so it is on there. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing just different things that I've learned this month and that I've loved and tips and tricks and things like that. I hope to do this every single month. Like I said, if you have a name for this type of episode, email me at sarah@worklifeglue.com and let me know what your idea is, and I'll for sure give you credit. But I just couldn't think of what to name it. That would be interesting and kind of fun. So if you guys like this episode, I would really, really appreciate if you would leave a rating and a written review. You don't have to write a whole lot, but just share what this podcast and Work Life Glue in general has meant to you or what it's helped you with. And it would really help me to grow my podcast and my message, and I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Go get something done, go love on your kids, and go live your dreams. I'll talk to you soon.